Hi, this is Shane Starr, and today I'm going to discuss some thoughts on the Enneagram. Now, my video will presuppose a little bit of knowledge on the Enneagram, maybe not expert level, but enough to be familiar with the 9 types. And my unique contribution, you could say, to this system, I think, would be that I see it as a very helpful personality system because it focuses on how to improve ourselves. And I also like the way that it comes at your personality type by way of your worst characteristics as opposed to your best, or the ones you try to show off the most. So I think, like the MBTI and like socionics, it can be difficult to type oneself because, pick a sin, right? All 9 Enneagrams are defined by, in large part at least, a single sin. And there's probably no one alive who hasn't sinned all 9 of them. So when we think of ourselves in terms of an Enneagram type, I tend to look at it, and here I'm reaching the point of what I want to say. I think the Enneagram is a system, and the number is simply your entryway into that system of self-improvement. And that number may be different depending on different times of your life. There have been times that, just like in MBTI or socionics, that I was convinced that I was one number and then changed my mind and thought I was another number. And, it's hard because when we type ourselves, we do so to the exclusion of other types. That's what typing is. You're saying, I'm this, which naturally excludes that. So when you say something like, I'm just going to pick a number here. I'm a 7 because I have a problem with gluttony. Well, what if you're a liar too? What if you have a problem with anger also? And you're just picking what you did today. There's a problem with that, but it also can be a gift as well, because if you're flexible enough to look at different numbers than the one you most identify with, you can see paths to improvement with other numbers or types too. I'm going to demonstrate this just by talking a little bit about myself and my experiences with life problems and how I could actually interpret myself as any of the 9 types. Okay, I would say growing up in an impoverished family with a broken family, violence, inner city upbringing, life was a battlefield. Life is one big survival of the fittest. So in that sense, how could one not be an 8, right? You couldn't be vulnerable. You had to be tough to survive. That's the nature of it. Now, how did I get out of that ghetto? I found that if I could accomplish myself in one way or another in sports, surfing ended up being my vehicle to success. I could get recognized and get out of that bad situation. And in that sense, it was very 3-ish. The better I do, the more successful I get, the more positive vibes I get, the more better I'm treated. And so in that sense, that was very 3-ish. So what did I do with that success? I went crazy and bought a bunch of things. So I won my first professional surfing contest. I went out and bought a new sports car. Within months, I was paying for gas with rolls of coins because I didn't win that many after that. So, at that time of my life, 7 would have most defined me for sure. As I grew out of my surfing career and into an academic one, it was just a thirst for knowledge, and I ended up majoring in philosophy and theology as well. And how could one not be a 5 in that instance? You know, all I wanted to do was learn as deeply as I could all the different schools of philosophy and align myself with the one I thought was best. And, you know, very 5-ish, if you ask me. Throughout this time, there's always been a aesthetic string to me. I mean, even today, wearing my colors that match, even the socks match. You know, very 4-ish, if you ask me. Unique, different, artsy, all that stuff. So the 4 in me is there too. You could say at my work, most of what I do, even though I'm not in a customer service role, that ends up being what it is because I'm helping people with problems. I'm a problem solver, either helping people find an apartment they want, helping someone get their lost keys out of the elevator, helping someone with a lost package, helping the business raise the profit margin. All these things are help. The more I help, the more I'm loved and appreciated. Very 2-ish, I think. If you see me on the road, we're back to 8 because I get pissed, I'm impatient, I don't like that. I still have a shopping problem, very 7-ish. I make a backup plan for my backup plan. I do hope for the best, but I always expect the worst. Very 6-ish. It's a very strong one in me. And at my work, you know, my boss thinks I'm great, thankfully, but if there's one critique I have had, it's that I'm too hard on myself, I'm too critical. I can complain sometimes. I think that there's a right way to do things, and I get upset and unraveled when people don't follow the right way to do things. Mostly self-critical, but I can be critical of others, and I can be very resentful, both in my personal and professional life. And indeed, on Enneagram tests, I do type as a 1. So the 1 is there too. So what's it all for? What have all my lifelong work and efforts brought me to? It's so that I can kick back and relax and just sit here and just be like, yeah, I don't have to do anything. And what number is that? We're at 9. So I think I've covered all 9 of them. I think the best, most quickest way to type yourself in the Enneagram is to type yourself by the sin. What sin? And I'm not with one of these people who say, let's go back to when you were 17. That's not going to help anyone. Who cares what you were doing at 17? What I want to know is what you're doing right now. How are you right now? What's your biggest problem right now today? That's the cash value of the system. That's what's going to get you somewhere. My biggest problem when I was 17 is I was with too many girls and I was already drinking and stuff. I'm not with anyone now, and I only put good things in my body now. No drugs, no alcohol, no anything. So me focusing on when I was 17 to 25 or something, and the problems I had and the cure for that would be of no help to me whatsoever at all now. So I don't see how typing yourself back when you're a teenager, unless you're the same person you were when you were a teenager, in that case, go right ahead. But you need to focus on what's wrong today. And I wrote down a list, and I'm just going to go down that list. Is resentment your main problem? You know, harbored anger, angry at past faults, things that happened 10 years ago. When you think about it, it feels like they're happening right now. I mean, that's my biggest problem, and that's resentment. If that is your biggest problem, your biggest sin, maybe you're a 1. What about pride? Do you think that you're a very good person because you're helpful and needed, and you do all these things for other people, and that gives you a sense of self-worth. If that's the case, and pride is your problem, maybe you're a 2. Deceit. Now, deceit can take on many different forms. If, there can be degrees of self-deceit. But if it's self-deceit and it's not purposeful, I don't see how one can interpret that kind of deceit as sinful. When I think of sinful deceit, I think of lying, cheating, bragging, exaggerating. I think the worst kind of lie or deception is one that's 99% true and they just twist it and misrepresent themselves with that kernel of truth. If that's your problem, if you have a problem with deceiving people, whether it's at work or home, maybe you're 3. Envy. If you're jealous of people, if you look at what someone has and you wish ill on them because you don't think they deserve it, or why them and not me? Why does he or she have all that and I don't? Maybe you're 4. Avarice. Now, what is avarice exactly? Avarice is basically selfishness, being miserly, collecting everything you can and hoarding it and not sharing with other people. Mostly material things, but it could be knowledge, it could be anything. If this sounds like you, maybe you're 5. Anxiety, 6. If you're always fearful of what can go wrong, if you're always thinking worst case scenarios, if you're not very optimistic, maybe you're 6. 7, gluttony. I know I still have a shopping problem, but I've tamed my gluttonous nature in other areas, so I'm not feeling very much 7 myself. But if you have an issue with over drinking or overeating or overdoing anything, you could be a 7 or even an 8. But gluttony is the thirst for more. And I think in 7s it comes out in wanting extra experiences. Enough is never enough. They always want more. Why don't we do this? Why don't we go there? Okay, now we're here. Now what? Oh, let's do this other thing. It's like they're always looking over the hill for the next big thing. In MBTI terms, I think it's closely associated with NE, extroverted intuition, and SE, extroverted sensing. If this sounds like you and you think you have a problem with it and you should be more satisfied with what you have instead of always reaching for more, maybe you're 7. Lust, and 8. Lust, I mean, you've already heard this elsewhere, but lust is more in terms of intensity. It can include sexual lust, but it also includes intensity in all areas. Intensity of action, intensity in physical intensity, emotional intensity. If you have a problem with being maybe a little overbearing to people and you want more, you need more, you have to have more, and you are sort of led by your desires, which can come out as anger as well, maybe you are really an 8. And last but not least, 9 and sloth. If you have a problem getting started, if being lazy or unproductive is a big problem of yours, if you oversleep a lot, miss work a lot, perhaps you are a 9. So easy guide to typing for Enneagram is look at your worst sin. And you're going to have more than one. No, we all do. But if you look at your worst sin, that will give you your type. And more so than the test will help experts. I find Enneagram experts mostly just tell you what they think you want to hear. There aren't too many real expert typers like there are with MBTI or socionics. But just be honest with yourself. If you are a believer, pray about it. That will help. And look towards your worst sin. That'll give you your type. And then, of course, you can read up on wings and integration and disintegration and all that. But I think the key takeaway from this message today is that the Enneagram as a system focuses on how to get from where you are to where you want to go in a helpful spiritual way. And in that sense, you can enter it from any of the 9 numbers. That's all I got. Thanks.